So that's what is given by the 95% confidence interval according to the normal distribution. Okay, and another actually a little bit less reliable way is that some people use the 3 sigma confidence interval. So if you take a 3 sigma or 3 standard deviation x, it's sometimes called the 99.8% confidence interval. So the 2 sigma actually corresponds to a 95% confidence, because the mass, if you believe in the Gaussian or normal distribution, the mass within the plus minus 2 sigma bond is about 95%. And 100% is the integral below the entire PDF. It's guaranteed to be 100%, right? And the integral between minus and plus 2 sigma is about 95%. And if I have strictly the normal distribution, then the integral below the PDF and in between plus and minus 3 standard deviation is about 99.8%. But that's a far less reliable answer unless you have many, unless your distribution is really close to normal distribution, right? And we are going to discuss a little bit how close is the actual distribution, is the distribution close to the actual Gaussian distribution later on. But if I use a 3 sigma distribution, 3 sigma confidence, so my P up is going to be 36%, and my P low is going to be 28%. So then I widen the interval, and I have even more confidence that the true probability is going to lie in between that confidence interval. And by the way, that confidence interval is estimated from a single sampling procedure, right? It's from the first result returned by this procedure, as opposed to having to rely on performing the sampling again and again. Okay, any questions about how do we form a confidence interval? It's essentially taking the sampling mean, the sample mean, the sample standard deviation, and the mean plus minus twice the standard deviation, or plus minus 3 times the standard deviation. It's going to be the result. And don't forget this 1/, square root of n, right? If you just take the sample standard deviation and do plus minus 2, you are going to get a very wide confidence interval. That's going to tell you I'm completely not confident. But in reality, when you increase the number of samples, you actually shrink your confidence interval, which is good, which means you are more confident. All right, questions? No? Okay. So now one thing we have not discussed is, why do we get a normal distribution? The reason is actually very deep. I mean, it's one of the deepest theories, most intriguing phenomenons about this world. Actually, when you perform independent samples, actually not just the independent samples, you can relax the condition a little bit, because in reality, you never actually get fully independent probabilistic events. But there are a lot of things. When you average them, you get more and more, less and less variable results. And that result is captured in what's called the central limit theorem. And people up to today are still researching, looking into conditions, looking into wider conditions under which the central limit theorem can be also proved, right? So essentially what the central limit theorem, I mean, it's not a single theorem, but it's a collection of theorems with an almost identical result. That is, under a certain limit, the distribution of something approaches a normal distribution, right? So the central limit theorem is a collection of theorems that has essentially the same result. Is under various conditions I get normal distributions. And one of the first version of the central limit theorem is actually exactly what under the situation we have described, is that if you keep producing independent and identically distributed random variables and you average them, the average is going to approach a normal distribution as the number of samples increases to infinity. Okay, so essentially what you can see is that if I have a single sample, right, my distribution, in our case, our distribution is actually either 0 or 1. So that's a single sample. Okay, it's nothing like a normal distribution. And then as we perform more samples, let's say 100 samples, right, we can see what our distribution is. So we can actually do it over here. If we have, let's see, 100 samples, and we redo the procedure. Actually, we close and we redo the procedure. Right, we already start to get something close to normal distribution, but not quite. Actually, let me go back to so this is the reason I'm actually changing the problem to make it 50 kilometer. That we actually get to a normal distribution pretty fast. So if you change it back to 80 kilometers, the convergence is going to be a little bit slower. So for example, in this case, if you use about 200 samples to start with, which gives us about 100 samples at the end, what we get is something not like a normal distribution anymore, right? So we get 0 a lot of the times, and we get something around 0.01 for sometimes, something. I mean, it's nothing like a normal distribution. Now, if you increase this to 2000 and run it again, okay, so we still get all these things that spikes, but now we at least see it's getting closer to a normal distribution, right? And now we further increase this and run it again. It'll take a little bit longer because I increased the number of samples by a factor of 10. Hopefully the runtime is like a factor of 10. Now we get something a lot more similar to a normal distribution, right? So this is what the central limit theorem tells us, is as you increase the number of samples, the average of the result of these samples is going to approach a normal distribution. But it's never actually going to be a truly normal distribution. If it's truly a normal distribution, my result should always have a non-zero probability of being negative and a non-zero probability distribution of being greater than 1. But if you look at the result here, I'm actually averaging a bunch of zeros and ones, so I would never have any possibility of getting something less than 0 or something greater than 1, right? So I'm never actually going to get exactly a normal distribution. And usually the slowest convergence are in the tails, like in the very left and very right of the distribution. That's why I'm saying the 99.8% confidence interval is it's not going to be always 99.8% confident, but it's going to be more confident than the 2 sigma confidence interval. Okay. So this is really what's the central limit theorem. It kind of tells us that we can use the 2 sigma and 3 sigma confidence interval by assuming we get a normal distribution at the end. And in theory and in practice, we do.